Hey, George Fourie, welcome to the Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. Today's special guest is Ross Cameron from Fightcross MMA in Brisbane, Australia. Now, Ross and I go way back. We've been working together for quite some time, and I've been fortunate enough to witness his business explode from the sidelines. And just recently, he's opened up his new location. And let me tell you what, it's not just any location. We were on one of our partners' Power Hour calls, our coaching calls, and Ross took us on a virtual tour through the location. We're going to include a virtual tour on this page as well. But he took us through the whole location and just the multiple floors, the different aspects, the bar, the coffee shop, and of course, the world-class gym. So we break down just the whole process of the 2 to 3 years that it took to put this together, the obstacles that he faced with obviously things like COVID, things that weren't expected. And we do a deep dive into the technicalities, how to set up your contracts, how to structure your staffing, and a lot of the details that often go missed when opening up a new location. And then we do a bit of a deep dive on marketing and how he's gone about marketing this new location and the plan on filling it up to 500 to 1,000 members over the next 12 months. Jump in. This is a good one. Also, if you head over to martialartsmedia.com/125, where this podcast episode is hosted. So no matter where you're listening or watching, you can check out the full transcript of the show. And you can also grab a download of our new ebook, Ultimate Facebook Ad Formula for Martial Arts Schools. So check that out and make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you're listening, just to make sure that you get notified when our next show comes out. All right, let's jump in. Ross, what's been the top marketing strategy or campaign that you've run lately? What's been the highest performance?
So the best one we've had recently, because we've been moving into a new gym, has been our foundation membership drive with Facebook and video and all the rest of it. And based around that, it was a box that we gave away that had different items inside it. We had samples from some of our suppliers. We had a towel from the gym. We had a water bottle. We had a mouth guard. All the little bits and pieces to make them feel comfortable and give them some added value to signing on.
Great. So, and what was the offer for the foundational membership?
So they got a discounted rate on the membership for 12 months. They got the foundation sign-on fee was $99, and in that they got this box that had a t-shirt, a mouth guard, a water bottle, a towel, samples, a card that actually had a link to some extra video content that we had done on how to tie your belt, welcome to the gym, how to do a mobility flow, all sorts of bits and pieces. Perfect.
So I guess we can now give some full context why the foundational membership. So just a shorter intro. Ross Cameron from Fightcross in Brisbane, Australia. If you've been following the podcast, Ross has also been on the podcast before. We spoke about Lockdown, which is their event. What do you call it? Modified jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, it's submission grappling. Submission grappling. Yeah. MMA in the cage without the strikes.
That's the tagline I've been looking for. So you can, if you want to backtrack on that, which was episode 37. So Ross, we chat every week, every so often when you're not busy, evolving this new, what should we call it? It's like the evolution of the martial arts school is almost the way I look at it. You gave us a bit of a video tour and showed us what you've got going there. But why don't you give us a bit of a background, the vision, and how this all came about?
So when I first started teaching martial arts here in Australia, I'd moved from having 3 clubs in New Zealand with coaches and school halls and all the rest of it. We moved over to Australia, and then I started teaching in my garage, and then quickly from that I went to a tin shed. And over a period of about 20 years, we've gone from the tin shed to what we have now, as I see it, a very professional, high-end martial arts academy. We've put in Fuji mats, we've put in a cage, we've got top-level cardio equipment, we've got top-level weights equipment, a recovery centre, so ice pods, infrared sauna, massage therapists, physiotherapists, group fitness rooms, the private PT studios, the lot. And it's not just a martial arts school in a school hall, it's taking it to the next level of professionalism. And in doing that, we've had to look at staff contracts, insurances, all the different things that you don't actually take into account when you're in a school hall. And sure, you have to have insurances and things in place, but do you need this type of insurance or this type of insurance? Do you need to have 20 million public liability insurance or 10 million public liability insurance? Do you have to have product insurance? Do you have to have insurance to cover your income? Do you have to have insurance to cover infidelity? All sorts of bits and pieces. Do you cover your staff for all sorts of weird and wonderful things? So it's taken a lot of time to go through and get to that point, but we're there now.
You're there. Yeah, I remember we started having this conversation. Geez, how long ago? It's been a few years, right?
Yep.
So how many years in the making? I mean, not the planning, the physical actually putting it together.
Oh, well, it's probably 2 to 3 years of actually putting it all together. It's not a quick process.
I'd love to dive into all the technicalities and details of, like, if you're a school owner and you're looking at taking your business to the next level and elevating your brand and upgrading your facilities and being this premier school, and the process you've taken, like the technicalities that often get overlooked. Just take us again through the facility, because you left out one big part about
so
what's in the gym, right?
Right. So we have a building that's our gym's about 650 square meters. Below that is a high-end bar. Behind us is a 5-star French restaurant. We have a coffee roaster, a brewer, a French patisserie kitchen, coffee shop, all in the facility.
Right. So now that brings up a lot of questions. First up is, how many students arrive to class and never get up to the gym because they're stuck in the bar?
None, thank God.
Right.
Although they do go to the bar after.
Right. There's special punishment if you're late, if you don't make it. Or
Yep.
Begs the question, right? Why a bar? Why a coffee shop? What's the whole idea behind all the add-ons?
It's trying to build the community, all right, and it's trying to have things that link into connect people to what we do. So the bar is the social aspect. The coffee shop provides high-end coffee, cold brew, things that are really good for pre-workout and things like that. And again, it's providing us a social atmosphere where we can take the guys downstairs and have a coffee, have something to eat. People can come in and spend the whole day around the gym without actually having to go out anywhere.
Right. So can you give us insight on a bit of the vision? And I think what we'll do, if it's okay with you, Ross, if you can do a bit of a video walkthrough after some time, and we'll add it onto this page where the podcast is hosted. So you could go to martialartsmedia.com/125 and catch the video there. Because that'll give you we were on one of our partners coaching calls, and Ross was there, and he took us through the whole gym. Took up most of the coaching call, but everyone was really wowed just by it. It's nothing. There's nothing I can compare to, which is just what makes it so fascinating. So, what was the whole vision behind? You mentioned community, and it brings the whole community together. But what's the whole vision behind the new Fightcross?
Well, martial arts is a way of life. So the whole vision is actually that whole encompassing community. So that's why we have a recovery centre. That's why we have the physios and the massage therapists. That's why we have the PTs. People can come in the door and do a workout. They can recover. They can eat good food. And it's all organic. It's not rubbish food like the average pub food. It's all organic food. We've got the microbrewery on site that actually brews here with, again, organic. That whole encompassing vision is where we've gone.
Gotcha. What are you doing different now with the whole new environment than you used to do just with running classes and so forth?
Well, I'm trying to get out of doing all the work, hiring staff and doing those things. So we have multiple styles in the gym. So we have boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Taekwondo, karate. And then MMA, and everyone's got to fit in. We have like 72 classes a week, including Pilates and yoga, and so we've got a lot more of a community pool because we have all these other add-on sessions.
Is there something you do different to build a community when you've got all these various styles and you attract a different caliber of type of person that resonate to these different styles?
Yeah, you have to be more on the ball with the community building, as in I spend a lot of my time now actually just talking to people. The connection between them and me has to be really good, because of if I'm not taking all the classes, they lose contact of who you are and what you do and all that sort of stuff. So you've got to spend the time around the facility, meeting with people, talking with people, building the community by organising. Like we're doing David Goggins 4x4x48 as part of a team. We'll have a barbecue the whole weekend. We'll do all those things, and just constantly doing that sort of stuff rather than just, here I'm at the class, here's the grading barbecue, and away we go.
Gotcha. And that's where a bar just works well as well, right? Because it brings the community together.
Yep. So even some of our little social club meetings, a Friday night sparring session. After Friday nights, lots of the guys just go downstairs, have a beer and a burger, and then toddle off on home. So
love it. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts, right? I mean, what goes into this? So first up, you have this vision, and now you got to get to work and turn the vision into a reality, right? So walk us through the first few steps and how you go about all this.
Besides all the planning of dreaming and sketching and all that sort of stuff, you get a building or you lease a building or whatever. The first thing is sort of we were finding the zoning and making sure you have council zoning to be able to run a sport and rec facility. Step one, if you don't have sport and rec, you can be closed down by the council at any moment. Any moment.
Before you continue, I think, and you pointed at it, right? After the planning. So I think we shouldn't just brush over that part, right? You've got this vision. What goes into the planning? And you've got a bit of experience in this type of thing as well.
Yep. Yeah, I'm an engineer by trade. So planning is the key to everything. So planning out how your building's going to look, the layout of your building, your color schemes, which mats you're going to have, what cage you're going to have, what staff you're going to require, what classes you're going to have, how you're going to get the stuff into the building, when you have to get the stuff into the building, when you have to have your insurances in place, when your staff has to come on board, what contracts you need for your staff, whether or not you've got enough insurance to cover your product in your pro shop and the equipment on the floor, whether or not you've got enough to handle if it all goes bad, having game plan B, C, and D. Yeah, there's lots to go into it, many moving parts.
Right. Now, the plan B, C, and D played a big role, right? Because we weren't expecting the big old COVID to come around.
Yep. So we had an 8-month delay in actually getting into the building due to building issues due to COVID. So in that time, we've had to go to game plan B, C, and D, and we were doing things like running out of one of my franchises. We were running out of the coffee shop next door taking classes, so we had local community. We were doing stuff in the park. We were doing boot camp type stuff. All these bits came into play so that we could keep community involvement here in the actual area where the gym is.
All right. Let's continue the journey. We've done the planning. We're getting all the infrastructure set up. Where do we go from here?
So I still think the first thing you should make sure is your building's got, before you sign the lease or before you buy the building, check the zoning, make sure that you have the correct zoning, because if the council comes along and shuts you down, you're shut down. Happened to one of my franchises that the zoning got changed once, and they had to go and get a environmental impact study done on the traffic coming to their gym to prove that they could stay, and it cost him about $25,000 just to do that. So I would make sure that that's a big tick to start with. Once you've got that, then you can start your nitty gritty into like, what classes do you want to run? Because that'll tell you what equipment you require, what sort of a gym you want to be. If you want to have weights and we want to be a CrossFit box and a martial arts gym, or if you want to be a health and fitness center and a martial arts studio, and then you can start planning out your equipment. Once you've got your equipment, then you can start planning out what insurances you need, what classes you're going to need, the staffing you're going to require for those. And then you start going into, if you're needing staffing, are they casual? Are they permanent? Are you going to have to pay PAYG? Are you going to have to pay supers? Are you going to have to do all those things? Are you going to, and your contracts that you require for those, each one takes time, takes energy, and takes effort. Even if you have good lawyers, and I've got good lawyers, you've got to still make sure that you tick all your T's and dot all your I's. So,
what issues did you run into that were completely unexpected and that you potentially hadn't planned for or planned for?
Well, COVID.
Right. We didn't see that one coming, right?
Yeah. And the effect COVID had on delays meant that the staff that I had organised, a lot of them were not here, not available when we actually got to moving into the gym. So I've had that reshuffle of staffing and organising things that has taken me longer because of the fact that the delay was there. Council approvals took longer than expected. Building compliance took longer than expected. All those things that you think, oh yeah, we'll just get it ticked off, and it's, oh no, this braille sign's not in the right place. This fire exit needs another sign. That door swings the wrong way. All those little bits and pieces just, take time and take energy.
How do you go about your employment contracts and the accounting and so forth? And I mean, if we can talk about budgeting as well, how you went about all that.
Accountants are great. If you have a good accountant, they'll make your business. We did a whole financial modeling. So we sat down and we went through and we worked out, our cash flow, our spend, funding the equipment, not funding the equipment, funding staff, how long it's going to take to ramp up the numbers to get to where we want to be. So we did a 2 to 5 year cash flow. Then we could sit down and go, right, what other issues do we have here as an accountant? What do you see? they always go, the next level is your staffing's going to cost you. You got to make sure that you get your contracts right. You got to make sure that you are planning to hire slow, fire fast. Make sure that you're looking after your people, but make sure that they're not costing you money. And contracts for your staff. Again, it's that, are they casual? Are they permanent? Getting the technicalities of your employment contracts correct. I'm lucky I've got not only do I have good lawyers, I actually have an employment contract lawyer as a member in the gym. So I was able to go, tell me what I need to look at. Now go to my lawyers and say, now write this. And it's interesting to see all the little intricacies that you've got to have in there. And then you've got to worry about your contractors. So if you have a guy who takes 2 BJJ classes a week, and he's a contractor, you need to have a contract with him. It's not just, hey, mate, I know you're a BJJ black belt. Can you take a couple of classes for me? Oh, yeah, it's $50 a class. No worries. It's not that easy these days, because if you do it wrong, it bites you on the ass.
And what can go wrong with that? Because I think a lot of people do that, right? They just, you've got the top guy at the school and you're like, all right, we'll give you a couple of bucks to run the classes. What's the downside?
Well, number one, he could open a gym down the road, even though that's technically a breach of what's called fiduciary duties. So they're not allowed to do that, but they do.
Because that's never happened before, has it?
Never happened at all. So if you have your contracts in place, that's going to cover your bum for that sort of thing. You can't stop them from opening a martial arts school, but you can stop them opening a martial arts school within a certain area to compete with you. So there's the sort of the fine line of understanding what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And you only know that through experience or lawyers.
Very important, yeah.
And as their contractors, do they have their insurance? Do they have their first aid certificate? Do they have... And by signing the contract, you get them to agree that they have all these things in place. And then when there's verbal involved, it never lasts. If it's written, you can go back to that writing. Contracts. Doesn't sound like an engineer, does it?
Now, how did you decide between, because you've got this massive organization that runs, morning to, you said from 6 a.m. to
5:30 a.m. until 9 p.m.
5:30 to 9 a.m. All right. And there's lots happening. So you've got permanent staff, you've got casual staff, contractors. How did you decide on who you need? And did you work on a ratio or like a ratio of students? How did you determine what staff you
were going to need? What I worked on is actually the skill bases that I require to cover the multiple disciplines. So my boxing coach that I have as a contractor, he's a boxing coach, he's a CrossFit coach. He used to fence for Australia at an Olympic level. He's done Muay Thai and karate. So he covers multiple bases. The same with my BJJ coach. The BJJ coach I have, and he's not only is he a BJJ black belt, he's also a karate black belt. My PTs that I have, tend to have boxing or kickboxing backgrounds as well as being PTs. So we've got, even down to some of the reception sort of staff, I have one of the reception staffs, a remedial massage therapist, so he can cover multiple angles for me. So sit out, work out the skill bases, then try and find the people that will fit those skill bases.
And then what about culture?
That's a huge thing. Culture is a huge thing. And culture comes from the top. So you have to drive the culture and what you want and how you want people to act and behave and talk, even down to talking. So all the boys have their locker talk and things like that. If I catch them having locker talk anywhere in the gym, I shut that down straight away. I want a large percentage of my clients to be female, So I'm not letting the locker talk go on in the gym and things like that. So I set the rules, and I'm told I'm pretty hard on people, but I think you have to be hard to set the culture that you want from the beginning. Tell people how you expect to be treated, and then expect them to come up to that standard.
And what's your strategy with that? Are you just, I know you're pretty straightforward with a smile on your face, right? But is that just your approach? You just go out and tell people,
yep,
that's not cool?
Yep.
Pull them aside? Or
I like the military principle. I don't tell people off in front of other people. I'll pull them aside and have a word to them. But I pick when I do it as well. I try not to do it so it's too obvious, or if they're making a fool of themselves when they shouldn't be, or something's dangerous, I'll say something then. So,
all right. Are you going to open a big center like this again? Another one?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Right. Cool. Great. What would you do different this time, if anything?
Avoid COVID. Probably more planning, more control over certain parts that I just let other people do. One of the big things that I've learned out of this, and I'm a big believer in doing this anyhow, is learn every job. I don't need to do it, but I need to understand how every job works. Then if someone's not doing their job, I can point it out and I can just tell them how I want it done, but I've got to know every job. Handy being an engineer, because that means I look at all those things and get most of it. So, yeah. But that would be more planning and more understanding of every bit that goes into it before I get the person to look after it.
And that means marketing too, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Marketing is one of the things that I've had other people do before. And I'm a believer in that. I should show you your job, tell you your job, and let you do it. And if you don't come up to the T, I'm gonna crack it across the knuckles. I've had a few guys that have done that for me, where they've come up and then just disappeared, or they've gone and hidden from me because they know that the knuckle crack's coming. You've got to be able to hand over the job to somebody at some point. Otherwise, you spend 24 hours a day doing every job. You still need to understand every job. You just don't need to do every job.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's something I deal with a lot, just with marketing. And I think it's obviously, if you're a school owner and you've got all this on your plate and now you've got to handle marketing, I mean, it's just easier to hand it off to someone and just say, can you do it? That's great. The problem is, if you don't know the strategy, you've actually just handed over the drive and the growth of your business to a person or foreign entity. And if they don't perform as they do, your business is crippled right there.
Yeah.
And this is, I guess, my big pet peeve with sometimes with agencies, because they can start out, or the go-to guy that is doing all this great things decides to do your marketing for you, and he does well. But then he realizes, all right, well, I'm going to make a business out of this. I'm a good marketer. Maybe I'm not a good business owner. And most agency owners would know, when you get about 10, 20 clients, you better have your systems in place. And so the person that was your go-to guy becomes your not so go-to guy. And again, you're looking for the new one.
Yep. Yeah. And exactly it. With agencies, it's exactly the same as if you have, and every martial arts school works the same sort of way. They all work on their community. So Joe Bloggs knows how to do this stuff. Can you give it a crack for me? And then later down the track, doesn't work. So you've got to know the how to do the job, and then have some KPIs in place that you can check and all the rest of it, and have control over it all. You don't want to hand that control over to somebody. So you get an agency doing it and they're doing everything for you. You've got no control over it at all. suddenly you've got no data, you've got no information that you require to keep your systems moving.
Yeah, and I think there's a special place in hell for agency owners that set up your accounts on their business, their own Google accounts, their own Facebook business managers, and they run your ads and they keep your data and your accounts hostage. And so you walk away with nothing. And that's a real thing. I couldn't believe that was a real thing, but that's actually a real thing.
Yeah, I've seen it on multiple levels in the same sort of thing. Not just Facebook marketing, but in other areas of marketing where they just keep everything and keep it hostage until either you pay them what they want to get paid, or they just take it and go.
Crazy stuff, right? So Ross, I mean, it's. I feel it's always the lame question, right? But it's such a topic that you've got such extensive knowledge on all this, and I just want to make sure I get all the information from you. Is there something I should be asking you that I haven't asked yet?
No, I think the next sort of the next thing for us will be our ongoing marketing campaigns and planning out our year for month by month by month by month, week by week by week by week, when we have to have our marketing running by, when we're having our campaigns end, how we're planning those little bits. Sounds funny, but the artwork and the copy are once you've got it right, it's easy. The planning and execution of when you need to execute it at the right time, because you can always put out an ad, and whether that ad is actually beneficial for the timing is the issue. So if you run your Christmas special in August, it's not going to work. But if you run your Christmas special 4 weeks, 6 weeks out from Christmas, you've got a bit of lead time up, and you've got the groundswell to hit just before Christmas. It's perfect timing. Same with your February fitness or your New Year's resolution stuff. If you're trying to do that as July, it doesn't work. Everyone's hunkering down for the winter, and they're not thinking about getting out and moving and doing all those bits and pieces. So timing's the important part for your marketing. Understanding your market, understanding when you have to hit the go button, and then having a process from that says, I need my artwork ready by this date. I need my wording to this date. I need to have my flyers printed on this date. I need them distributed by here to be able to get the result I want on this date. So all that sound, and it sounds very easy, but you've got to have the systems in place to make it happen. Because if you don't have the systems in place, you just won't do it.
Yeah, totally. I want to ask you, just because you touched on design, how important do you feel is the design from top level through to your social media, and how do you combine it?
So design's really important. So I go down to and this is a bit old, I don't have business cards anymore, but I used to go down to how the business card felt in your hand. The paper, the weight, the gloss, if it was embossed or not. So your design and everything being the same image, the same look, the same feel is so important. Because if you haven't got an even playing field when it comes to that, and you drop the ball on an ad that doesn't look anything like what you actually do, and I see it quite a bit in, the classic is you see ads out there that don't have their phone number or their email address, or there was a fight show here in Queensland that wrapped up a whole bus with just their name and all the rest of it, and didn't have a website, didn't have a phone number, didn't have when the event was, no details on the bus. And the bus drove around for about 8 weeks before the fight show with no real marketing material on it. So it's that little things. I'm quite lucky. I have a graphic designer that I use in Japan. He's been a student of mine for many years, and he always looks at the little things and goes, "Oh, you've missed out your phone number here," or you can't notice where your address is, and everything you do. So leaving off your website on a flyer.
Yeah, we were just chatting about this on the coaching call, partners coaching call yesterday. But I think just to add to that, things that are so important. We were talking about timing. Your frame. We always say change the frame. Don't necessarily have to change your offer. Just change the frame. That your frame is relevant. What is the talk? What are people talking about right now? Is it Mother's Day? Is it Easter, etc.? And then one of the top mistakes we always see on any ad or any promotion is no call to action. It's like, here's the ad, but like, what the hell do I do to get this thing? And then just lastly, the wrong call to action on the wrong platform. Because if you've got this super spanky flyer that's really great when you hold it in your hand and it's got a phone number, but when you're seeing it on social media, you look at the phone number. If I'm on my phone, I can't click it. I can't type. I can't write it down. There's nothing I can do. So it goes into the I'll check it out later basket, which means there goes your lead.
Yep, exactly. On social media, you've got to have your links on your email addresses, on your email campaigns, have your links to things. Big mistake. I see it all the time. And not by just martial arts businesses. You see it by some big businesses making huge mistakes.
And so just what Ross was mentioning on branding, I think what's important here, just to add on that aspect, if you're running campaigns back to back, and you have a brand identity and people can see, you see this with, I always look at Apple, if you don't have to know, you don't have to see an Apple logo to know it's Apple. It's just got the colors and the design speaks for itself. If people are seeing your ads all the time, and they might not respond to this month's campaign, next month, the third month, but if you've got a design and a concept that people resonate with and they see, when they're ready, whenever that is, and they see your ad, there's a bit of a trust factor that's been built just because the familiarity of your brand. So yeah, definitely important to keep that congruent from top down.
Yeah, the classic with that is Coca-Cola. They don't have to change a lot, but they still have to market. So yeah, it's a Coca-Cola brand. It's the colors, the look, the flow. But yeah.
So Ross, what's next?
What's next
For Ross and Fightcross?
So for the next 12 months, it's consolidation. We're aiming to have somewhere between 500 and 1,000 members at the facility here. And then I'm looking to purchase some more buildings and expand. So that's the plan.
Now, if you don't mind sharing, wrapping some numbers around this, what budget do you set aside? What budget did you set aside for your current location? And when people see the video, they'll get a good aspect of what it's about. And how would you be budgeting for the next round?
So I've spent, and fit out wise, I've spent about $250,000 in fit out. So it's not a cheap fit out.
And everyone will see why. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it is what you're trying to achieve with your building and your fit out. Like I say, even down to choosing the mats. I chose Fourie mats, and I chose the traditional tatami green mat finish and all the rest of it for the right look. Yeah, so I've spent extra dollars to make sure I got the right look and the right feel because it's so important. So
epic. Well, Ross, great catching up again, and would love to catch up again when, just maybe not on the next location, but just in between, and just chat about your experience with running the business and how things are going. Any last words? How can people find out more about you? We haven't even spoken about the events and things that you run, but where can people find out more about you?
I'm all over social media. So Ross Cameron MMA on Instagram. Fightcross, Ross Cameron on Facebook, Aftershock, Lockdown, Hammer Fight Nights. They're all over social media. So at one stage, I did a lot of social media work.
That's cool. Awesome, Ross.
Great.
Thanks so
George.
much. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
No worries. Cheers.